lost jock has entered the building. You are listening to the Sportcat Show.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. You have the one, the only Sportcat. I am here with you in the home studio in Atlanta. You will probably hear some loud thunder behind me. And please disregard my mess here in the studio. I have about 6 months worth of mail to catch up on and updates and stuff on the computer. So it's been a fun morning. It's a Monday. I'm not ready for Monday. I'm like Garfield. I want Monday to go away. All right. So if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Please hit that thumbs up and subscribe button if you are not already. If you're listening to us on any of our internet radio affiliates, our FM on replay, please come over and find us at the Paranormal, 3 words, and Guys with a Z, or you can just search out the Sportcat shows, and Sportcat would be me. So hello, Denise. Hello, Chris. Hello, Wendell. We've got a lively chat today. That's great. I enjoy having a lively chat. So it's Monday. Maybe you guys can keep me awake or at least help me get through the day. So we're going to be here for the next 2 hours. We're going to cover some news, headlines, just some stuff that we normally do. So we always start off with a little history lesson because I think everybody can learn something every day. So sometimes we get little historical tidbits in these things. So let me do that. I think, is there a way to, I'm going to play. Well, I don't like that. I guess I could, but I'm not a fan of that. I'll just stick with this. All right. Sorry guys, I'm just pushing buttons. I'm on my home computer and it's a little different as far as button play. Is that a word? Button play? All right. So today is July 21st. It is definitely a Monday. Let me kill this in the background because it's making way too much noise. All right. Is that going out over the air? I don't want that going out over the air. Well, it's not showing anymore. So there, be done with it. So, all right. We are not live on Discord. I haven't figured the bugs out yet. So, all right. So today is July 21st. We're going to go back way in history to 356 BC. Herostratus sets fire to the temple Artemis in Ephesus. It's one of the 7 wonders of the world. In 365, there was an earthquake on Crete, followed by a tsunami around the eastern Mediterranean. And it's allegedly to destroy Alexandria. 1861, boy, that's a big jump, because this would be AC. 1861, the first Battle of Bull Run in Manassas, which was not too far from where I grew up. It was the first major battle of the U.S. Civil War. It was fought in Manassas and ends in a Confederate victory. 1904, after 13 years, the 4,607-mile Trans-Siberian Railway is complete. 4,600, that's a lot of tracks. 1925, John T. Scopes is found guilty of teaching evolution in the Scopes monkey trial in Dayton, Tennessee. He was fined $100 and costs. Interesting. Way back then, 100 years ago. So, is that right? 100 years? Yeah. 1954, Geneva Accords for Indochina are signed, dividing French colonial territories into the countries of the Democratic of Vietnam, North, and the State Vietnam, South, Cambodia, and Laos. 1970, Aswan High Dam opens in Egypt, enabling human control of the Nile. In 2015, on this day, changes its domain name in a brand from historyorb.com to onthisday.com. Okay. 2024, President Biden abandons his campaign for re-election and endorses her. All right. Well, and today in film, 1943, musical film Stormy Weather, directed by Andrew Stone, is premiering in the U.S. 1996, The Daily Show, a late night talking a funny show, news program hosted by Craig Kilborn, premieres on Comedy Central in the U.S. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Today, in 2002, with a record 6 races remaining, German Ferrari driver Michael Schumacher clinches his 5th F1 World Drivers' Championship with a victory in the French Grand Prix circuit. 3rd straight title win. All right. Chris, I think I said hello. Hello, welcome. Happy Monday, if there is such a thing. All right. We've covered some of this. So 1865, Wild Bill Hitchcock fights in the first known Western showdown. James Butler Wild Bill shoots Dave Tutt in Springfield, Missouri, in what some consider the first showdown of the American frontier. They agreed to a duel after a fight over a card game. Our woman has been still on either side of Market Square. Hitchcock shot and killed Tutt. I'm pretty sure that I would never want to get into a duel. So I think your odds aren't very good. 50-50. So not a fan. All right. So we'll jump to the next thing. What is today? Besides for history, Chris says, nobody will ever convince me Forrest Gump wasn't the game changer for the U.S. in Vietnam. Oh, mercy, Chris. All right. So National Day. Every day has a national day. Apparently we missed Ice Cream Day over the weekend. It's Get Out of the Doghouse Day. Well, I just got home and Mrs. Sportcat is definitely running things. It's National Be Someone Day. Okay. National Junk Food Day. There's a day I can get behind. National Lamington Day. What in the heck is Lamington? We're going to research this for a minute because I don't know. July 21st is National Lamington Day on the national calendar. This delicious food holiday celebrates Australia's most famous culinary icon, the Aussie Lamington. Okay, did not know this. Today we are encouraging people to try Lamington while spreading the word about this tasty cake. Okay, well, unfortunately, I'm not at home in Knoxville where my mom is the chief baker in charge and has been of many places. She could make me a Lamington, but I'm going to message her and tell her she needs to find out what a Lamington is. And next time I'm there, I want to have her whip one up. So happy Lamington Day. National Junk Food Day. What's your favorite junk food? For me, probably barbecue potato chips. Let's see. Belgium Independence Day. It's Comic Con Day. Hey, I like that. We'll get a little comic book news here in a bit. Global Hug Your Kids Day. Well, I only have one at home. All the others are moved out. And it's Guam Liberation Day. And July 21st first is Invite an Alien to Live with You Day. Does it matter if you just invite him to cross the border or you want him in your house? I'm going to leave that alone. It's Legal Drinking Age Day. I heard a Karen on a talk show that was going off about a kid who tried to buy alcohol, and his 21st birthday was this year, but it wasn't this month. It was later in the year, and she was going off on the kid because he didn't know how to calculate his birthday. And I was like, no, you're just being a Karen. He was like being a kid trying to buy booze and thought he could sneak one by. So, but yeah, she was on a talk radio show just going off about this. I'm like, I don't think that we're to the point where you can't figure out how old you are. I mean, unless you get to a certain age where you never age anymore. Like I'm going to be 55 for a long time. Chris says his is National Cheese Doritos. I do like cheese Doritos. I love the taco flavored Doritos too, but they don't always have them. It's Marine Day in Japan. We talked about Be Someone Day. Everybody is somebody. If you are familiar with Snellville, Georgia, their theme is Everybody is Somebody in Snellville. National Craft for Your Local Shelter Day. It's interesting. Day of Prayer and Reflection and Thanksgiving in Montserrat. Get Out of the Doghouse Day, we discussed. Lamington Day. No Pet Store Puppies Day. I think that's because they had so many problems. Racial Harmony Day. President's Day in Botswana. Royal Welsh Day. Oh, here's one I can get behind. Take a Monkey to Lunch Day. I need to find a place where I can find a monkey, though. I don't have one. Well, I got a tiny terrace living in my house, but that's another story. So I don't have a monkey. Sometimes he thinks he is. I come home and the first thing he does is he's climbing on me like a monkey. And 1 second he's there, and the next second, he's on the floor crying. I don't know how he got there. Wasn't my fault, but I was the last one with it. So, all right. So the theme for today is we're all going to die. Well, this cartoon, it's a political cartoon by Lisa Benson. I'm not sure which paper publishes this. It's a Tribune Gannett agency, so I have no idea. But it's showing a large tree, and probably an oak tree, huge, all kinds of not flowery leaves, but bushy leaves. And there's a little twig at the bottom. There's an elephant that's on a ladder. That's precarious enough. And he has cut this little twig. And there is a donkey down on the ground screaming, "We're all gonna die." So there you go. We're all gonna die. That's our theme for today. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think today. We're not one of those shows where tell you today's the day, you got 3 days, pack your food for 100 days, lock yourself in the basement. No, we're not about that. I love those shows, but they invariably schedule a show for the day after. So Chris says, I went into a liquor store after midnight when I turned 21 and got carded. And the lady said she wasn't going to sell me anything until the next business day. That's great. So she wasn't going to allow you to have alcohol on her watch until the next business day. That's funny. That's funny. You should have said, I was born at X amount of time, and at this time I'm officially 21. All right, so we'll start off with a pervert story from the Smoking Gun. Comes to us from Louisiana. A pervert invites cops into his home, and handcuffs ensue. A Louisiana resident, age 60, had 3 child sex dolls in his bedroom. On July 18th, after calling police last night to complain that a woman refused to leave his home, a Louisiana man, unsure if the alleged trespasser was still inside, asked officers to search the property and, quote, clear his residence. Cops agreed to the sweep in the West Monroe home of Marcus Guillory in search of a woman he knew as Arthea. Upon finding, but instead of locating Arthea, investigators discovered 3 child-sized sex dolls in his bedroom, according to a probable cause affidavit. The dolls were found, quote, lying on and near the bed. Upon finding the dolls, they obtained a search warrant to search his home. During the execution of the search warrant, an anatomically correct sex doll of an infant and 2 anatomically correct dolls, which resembled a child under the age of 13, were recovered, according to Officer Justin Cummings in his report. During questioning, the suspect, Guillory, admitted ownership of the dolls, which he purchased online, and stated he had sex with each of the dolls multiple times. Cops say he admitted to, quote, piercing the nipples of one of the child dolls. He was arrested for possessing, trafficking, or importing a child sex doll. A felony, he was charged with possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. His rap sheets include bust for that battery and forgery and narcotics possession. Despite his history, he did not hesitate to invite the police into his home for a walkabout. Why would you do that? Why? Oh. People are so weird. All right. So over the weekend, there was a mass casualty incident in California where a male drove into a crowd and, well, chaos ensued afterwards. So the driver, this comes to us from the Scallywag and Vagabond. It's got to be a highly reputable news organization with that name, right? And it is from the Scandal and Gossip page. Driver kicked out of Hollywood club, plows into crowd, injuring 30 while getting shot. And there's a lot of pictures and videos of this on social media. I'm not going to show them, but Fernando Ramirez, a Los Angeles man, was kicked out of the Vermont club in East Hollywood. He intentionally rams into the crowd after a fight, injuring 30, 7 critically, while being shot after being attacked by club attendees as cops now seek shooter at large. So here's what had happened. He was kicked out of the East Hollywood club in California early Saturday morning, as allegedly got into his vehicle, plowed into a crowd of people standing outside. They were apparently waiting in line to get into this club. Left 30 injured. There's a video capturing the man being attacked and then including shot by the attendees he had moments before run over. There's also, I saw this on a crime show, but this guy literally targeted people, drove over them. The graphics on the video were quite, even for me being in EMS, I was like, ooh, that's ugly. But they proceeded, his car ended up into a hot dog stand and a telephone pole. They proceeded to drag this suspect, we'll still call him suspect, out of the vehicle and were beating him. I mean, literally, he was getting a beat down, and then supposedly was shot. So, according to LAPD commanders, the 29-year-old who had driven moments before after the altercation occurred inside. He drove his Versa into the crowd of people gathered outside the venue and nearby food venues. The driver struck a street side food cart and numerous bystanders before being pulled from the vehicles by witnesses and physically assaulted, according to LAPD and LAFD, whom were both on the scene. They were called in. They were all standing in line in the nightclub. There was a taco cart out there, so they were getting some food, waiting to go in. There was a valet line. And then, well, the podium was taken out, the taco truck was taken out, and then a large number of people were impacted by the vehicle. People inside the club came out to help the victims. In the minutes before emergency crews arrived, during the assault, the man was shot by an unidentified suspect. Authorities say the driver was transported to a local hospital, underwent surgery, and is now in stable condition. Due to his injuries, police have not determined if he was under the influence at the time of the crash. Some say that he had previously been removed from the club for being intoxicated and aggressive. And after being ejected for the second time, he returned and drove into the crowd outside. So he got drunk, got into a fight, and, well, then drove over people. All right, so it left 30 people injured and 7 seriously, most in their 20s to 30s, 12 men, 18 women, according to the LAFD PIO. 120 people responded from the fire department to that scene to assist. That's a lot of people. And I believe he intentionally plowed his car into the crowd following the earlier incident. He may have lost consciousness. Well, photos and video of the scene depict a heavily damaged gray Nissan sedan mounted on the sidewalk, surrounded by debris, individuals receiving aids, and emergency responders administering care. The victim inside the club described the moment of impact as a loud bang that triggered panic and confusion, with many guests initially believing they were hearing gunshots and fleeing the scene. People were lying down unconscious and bleeding, according to one. The Maria Medrano was operating a hot dog cart with her husband outside the club. She was hospitalized following the incident, according to the AP. All right, well, she said the car crushed her hot dog stand, nearly killing her and her husband. Well, the cart can be replaced. You can't be, so glad you were okay. Hope that everybody gets better, and this gentleman faces multiple charges and never sees the light of day again. All right, we're going to talk about another vehicle. It seems like vehicles and crowds were the headlines of the weekends. This one comes to us, well, out of San Jose. Brother of the former NFL player Pat Tillman reportedly stole a car and drove it into a post office. This comes to us from CNN. The man accused of that wasn't good. The man accused of deliberately driving a vehicle into Northern California post office is the reported brother of the late NFL player and U.S. Army Ranger Pat Tillman, said the U.S. Postal Office. The investigation began when police and firefighters in San Jose responded to reports of a burning vehicle in the box lobby of the Almadean Valley Station post office around 3 p.m. U.S. Postal Service said in a statement to CNN the fire was extinguished. They took the man into custody. The person is in police custody. His name Richard Tillman, who is reported to be the brother of the late NFL player and Army soldier Patrick Tillman, the service said. Suspect told officers at the scene that he is Tillman's brother. Said he live streamed the crash on social media. Was he trying to get clicks? KNTV in San Francisco reported, citing the source with knowledge of the investigation. Postal inspectors are investigating the incident as a potentially intentional act. He said he's been held without bond due to appear in court on Wednesday, according to the Santa Clara Sheriff's Office. Pat Tillman, who led his high school football team in San Jose to a championship before playing for Arizona State and advancing to the NFL, was killed while serving the U.S. as a ranger in Afghanistan in 2004. Gosh, that doesn't seem like that long ago. The former Arizona Cardinal players who turned down a multi-million-dollar contract with the team to enlist in the U.S. Army following September 11th attacks was shot in the head 3 times by U.S. soldiers who mistook him for the enemy. So sad. San Jose Fire Department said about 50 personnel responded to the scene of the post office. No injuries were reported. He posted it as a live social feed to drive into a... Oh, mercy. Everybody, make sure to be watching your back, your perimeter, because it could be a car, it could be a person with a sharp, pointy weapon, it could be anything. This comes to us from Oklahoma. The headline is, I hope he bleed to death. Man stabbed while driving in Oklahoma City. MSN reports. An argument between 2 men led to one of them being stabbed multiple times as he drove through Oklahoma City and ended up in a crash into Tinker Air Force Base. Oklahoma City police officials said on Tuesday Carl Hedrod Jr. and another man checked out of a motel near Meridian Avenue and Interstate 40 about 10 a.m. The 2 men had been reportedly verbally fighting for several days, according to the probable cause affidavit. They left the motel and drove to a gas station near Reno and Western Avenue to get gas. After filling up on gas, Hernandez Jr. reportedly struck the man who was driving the vehicle in the face, and they continued to argue as they got onto Interstate 40 eastbound towards Shawnee, according to the affidavit. Near Midwest City, Hedrod Jr. struck the victim in the face again, and the victim threatened to call police when they arrived in Shawnee. Police officials reported that Hedrod Jr. became enraged, pulled out a knife, and stabbed the man several times, according to the affidavit. As he was being stabbed, the victim told Hedrod Jr., "You're killing me," to which he reportedly said, "Nothing would make me happier than to watch you bleed to death," according to the affidavit. Sounds like a nice guy. The victim then reportedly asked Hedrod, "Are you really going to kill me?" He reportedly responding with, "Yes, I hope you bleed to death." Well, the victim slammed on the brakes, pulled on the side of the interstate. Both men exited the vehicle, with Hedrod Jr. reportedly telling the vehicle that he would drive him and take him to the nearest hospital. He spotted the Tinker Air Force Base and believed there was no way military would let them leave the base if they crashed into it. Okay, he believed if they were crashed, no one would let them leave the base if they crashed into it. Both men got back in the vehicle and he began accelerating, said, "We are both going out together," according to the affidavit. His friend sounds like he's a nut job. They said Head intentionally drove the vehicle off I-40 and crashed into Tinker Air Force Base. Both men climbed out of the vehicle after the crash, and supposedly he discarded the knife before PD arrived. An Oklahoma Highway Patrol officer interviewed the two men at Oklahoma University Medical Center, where he said his intent was to kill himself and the victim that he thought was the victim was going to die, and that it would just to kill them together by wrecking the vehicle, according to the affidavit. He's being held in Oklahoma County detention on a complaint of assault with intent to kill. His bond is set at $50,000, according to county records. He was just a nut job. I guess you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. Come on. All right. Well, we'll move on. Once again, more street crime. This comes to us from LA. A street takeover proceeded after an alleged looting at an AutoZone parts store in South LA that left the store in shambles. LAPD officers from the department's Newton division responded at 1:30 a.m. to 4335 South Main Street and Vernon Avenue, where video showed a large amount of broken glass, scattered merchandise in the store parking lot. Video from ABC showed the officers arriving, clearing the store of possible looters before entering. NBC reported dozens of witnesses were at the street takeover just prior to the looting. These street takeovers are becoming a thing, and yesterday in Knoxville, there was one on Broadway, just outside of downtown, and they took the street over with motorcycles. And they were doing burnouts, and they were in a parking lot of, I think it was an AutoZone there, and a large group of people. So these things are happening more and more frequently. Interestingly enough, nothing besides for social media posts. There was no news media reports of the incident in Knoxville at all. All right, this comes to us from ABC News, where a suspect is named in the shooting of a Border Patrol agent in New York City Park. A suspect is in custody for the shooting of an off-duty U.S. Border Patrol agent just before midnight on Saturday in a New York City park under the George Washington Bridge. The shooting unfolded at 11:51 Saturday in Fort Washington Park in the Washington Heights neighborhood, in Upper Manhattan, according to the NYPD. The 42-year-old Border Patrol agent was shot in the face and arm, was taken to Harlem Hospital, where he's being treated and expected to survive. The shooting occurred near the Little Red Lighthouse in Fort Washington Park, which is directly beneath the bridge. The attack was captured on security video, which helped the police quickly catch the suspect. Good. A witness told police that she and the off-duty agent were sitting together on the rocks near the edge of the Hudson when the suspect and his accomplice approached them on a scooter, according to a statement from DHS. The security video posted on social media by DHS showed the two men on a scooter stopped near where the victim and witness were sitting. The passengers seen in the footage getting off the scooter and approaching the victim while the driver stayed with the scooter. You had to have a driver with the scooter? Okay. I need to see this video. NYPD Commander Jessica Tisch said in a news conference on Sunday, video showed the suspected shooter, who's been identified as 21-year-old Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez, drawing a firearm, and the Border Patrol agent also pulling out a handgun to defend himself. The officer realized he was being robbed, drew his service weapon in defense. Said the suspect opened fire first. There was an exchange of gunfire before the suspect appeared to limp back to the scooter, and they drove away. Said that Tisch, the police commander, said that he walked into Nunez walked into a hospital in the Bronx at 12:18 with a gunshot wound to the groin and leg. That said was consistent with the injuries sustained by the perpetrator in the security video. They said that it does not appear the suspect was targeted because of his jobs. The bad guy underwent surgeries in custody at Lincoln Memorial Hospital in the Bronx, and that the suspect is expected to be arrested later Sunday. So the investigation has determined that the suspect, who DHS said is from the Dominican Republic, entered the country illegally in Arizona from Mexico in 2023. And ABC News has not been able to confirm that. Well, you're not going to be able to. There's no record. So he was also wanted by the NYPD. So he's a bad guy. We know who he is. He's already wanted for robbery in December of 2024 and in a felony assault stabbing in January 2025. Why did he get out from the robbery? Both of these incidents occurred in the Bronx. In less than 1 year, he has inflicted violence in our city, and he's changed. And once he's charged for last night's crimes, we will be able to add attempted murder to his rap sheet, according to Mayor Eric Adams. Why was... So the suspect is also wanted in Massachusetts for allegedly stealing guns from a pawn shop in February of 2025. His accomplice is still at large. The mayor visited the Border Patrol agent in the hospital, said the officers are expected to make a full recovery. Yeah. That's crazy. It's just crazy. He committed all these crimes, and then he's still out committing more crimes. So it said ABC News couldn't confirm, but that he came here illegally in 2023, and in 2024 he committed several violent crimes and was out, and only to commit another one, which would have probably been murder if he could have got by with it. Why was he out? That's the most important question to me. Why was he out of jail? It doesn't have anything to do with his immigration status. He was a criminal. This comes to us from CBS News. Pinecrest police officer injured while interrupting street takeover on US 1. This is out of Miami. The suspect is arrested. A South Florida police officer was released from the hospital after he was injured Saturday night while interrupting a, quote, street takeover on Route 1 in Miami-Dade County. He said the suspect was arrested. Adolph Dennis Jr., 24, has been charged with attempted second-degree murder of a law enforcement officer after Pinecrest police said he struck Officer Andres Garcia with his off-road vehicle at 9 p.m. Saturday. Police said the officer was responding what they referred to as a road takeover. There was a large group, said the Pinecrest public information officer, who is Ivan Azores. There were approximately 6 or 7 off-road vehicles, each one transporting 3 to 4 passengers and a driver. Police said Garcia shot and missed at an off-road vehicle. When it hit him while trying to escape, he was released from the hospital with minor injuries. So he drew his service weapon and was firing, but missed his target. When the officer arrived at the gas station, the vehicle that fled pinned him between the suspect vehicle and the officer's car. At that time, the officer felt the need to discharge his firearm at threat. After fleeing the mobile gas station near US and Southwest 104, so it was Route 1 and 104, police said the vehicle made it about 18 miles where they used a pit maneuver to stop the vehicle. Video shows a cavalry of cops chasing the vehicle before stopping it near Southwest 167th and Chrome Avenue. So this isn't the first time that they've heard of these drivers doing this in Miami. Many people avoid Route 1 because it's a high-risk area. So people are staying out of the area according to local law enforcement because they know that it's bad, but yet we can't get the police to make it stop. Chris said, after you said Eric Adams, I didn't even try and understand the logic behind it. Yeah, I mean, why would you let him out? I don't. All right, so this one we're going to hop to Tennessee, Nashville. A former Tennessee reality TV star arrested after reportedly attacking a woman with a sock at Walmart. WSMV TV reports a former reality TV star from Middle Tennessee was arrested at a Walmart on Friday after she attacked another person with a sock filled with rocks, according to the arrest affidavit. On Friday, July 18th, officers with Metro National Police were called to 3035 Hamilton Church Road in reference to an assault. And the Nashville Police Department spoke with the victim, who said that she was using self-checkout when the suspect, a 21-year-old Diamond Tankard, came from behind her, grabbed her by the hair, and then after the attack said that she took $1,500 iPhone 14 and $900 Louis Vuitton handbag. Officers found a laceration above the victim's eye on her forehead. According to the victim's grandmother, she had a sock filled with rocks and used it to strike the victim. Staff provided security from Walmart, and it confirmed it. Tankard was arrested and charged with theft of property, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and she bailed out on $2,500 bond. In December, she was arrested and charged with attempted first-degree murder after she allegedly struck a woman with her vehicle on November 29th. She was a reality TV child star who appeared on Bravo's Thicker Than Water, a show about Ben Tankard and his family. Ben is a music producer and pastor of the Murfreesboro Church Destiny Center. So you go into Walmart and you just hit people in the head with a sock full of rocks. Interesting. All right, so this one comes to us from Alexandria, or specifically Fairfax County, Virginia. An alligator surprises guests at a Virginia motel after midnight. A motel in Virginia had an unexpected guest Monday night as an alligator took in the sights. Police in Fairfax County released body cam footage of the strange encounter when a massive alligator was spotted just walking the rounds after midnight and June 16th. This is just being released, I guess. The 5800 block of Richmond Highway. I know right where that is. Oh, damn, that's an alligator. There is actually an alligator at this hotel, an officer told the dispatcher. The officer estimated the reptile is approximately 6 feet long, and it can later be seen waddling down the sidewalk. It drew the attention of everyone, and even one person walking her dog nearby was advised to stay away and bring the puppy inside before it became dinner. Though she protested, she wanted to see the alligator. Good Lord. Karen, go away. There's an alligator out here. No injuries reported. The alligator has reportedly been removed from the county, and its owner was not cited. So I guess they picked it up. Yes, it was an alligator. Oh, all right. That came to us from Alexandria, Virginia. Actually, Fairfax County proper. This one comes to us from the Hill. We're gonna leave the ground for a bit and go to aviation. A passenger jet pilot had to make a hard midair turn to avoid a B-52 bomber. A passenger jet made a hard turn in midair Friday to avoid a collision with a B-52, according to the pilot and the Air Force. Good Lord. SkyWest Flight 3788, operating as Delta Connection from Minneapolis, landed safely in Minot, North Dakota, after the pilot performed a go-around when another aircraft became visible in their flight path, according to a spokesperson for SkyWest. They are still investigating. Federal Aviation Administration also investigated the incident, and it said in the statement, an Air Force spokesperson is, quote, looking into the matter and confirmed that a B-52 aircraft assigned to Minot Air Force Base conducted a flyover of the North Dakota State Fair Friday evening. Oh, wow. The Air Force spokesperson said is looking into the matter and confirmed that the B-52 was just doing a flyover. The pilot explained, hold on, it jumped. The pilot explained that the pilot told flight there's no radar in the area, so the tower does everything visually and instruct the passenger jet to report as they were about 6 miles from the airport, which the pilot said they did. I think he realized the spacing wasn't going to work, and so he turned right. Yeah, they're trained if they see one, they both turn right. But the pilot said he saw an aircraft to his right. I said, there's an airplane over there, and he says, turn left, the pilot added. And then by the time they read back the clearance, we looked over and saw the airplane that was kind of coming on our converging course with us. The pilot told the passengers that he made a calculated decision to avoid the potential collision. And so given his speed, it was a military craft. I don't know how fast they were going, but they were a lot faster than us, and I felt it was the safest thing to turn behind it, he said. He apologized and said he was caught by surprise. He was not given a heads up on the B-52 bomber, who was being sharing the airspace. He was over the intercom saying, so sorry about the aggressive maneuver. It caught me by surprise. This is not normal at all, the pilot said. I don't know why they didn't give us a heads up, because the Air Force Base does not have radar, and nobody said, hey, there's a B-52 in the pattern. Long story short, it was not fun, but I do apologize. I thank you for understanding. It was kind of, well, not a fun day at work, the pilot said, prompting applause from the passengers. All right, so what do we have here? This is the air. Well, I want to hear the air traffic control. Well, I just said all this. I could have just. Okay, I thought it was the air traffic control thing. And Chris said that was an old incident because the alligator would be canceled by the left president today for participating in the undocumented detention in Florida. Is that where they send alligators now, down to Alligator Alcatraz? Also, for the record, I heard that there is now a fight in court over the technical name of Alligator Alley, because one guy's trying to trademark it, copyright it, and saying it's his and that they owe him millions of dollars for using it or something. Some silliness. Good Lord. They will fight over anything. And speaking of which, this comes to us from the New York Post. And news journalist Keith Olbermann, he pours cold water on claims that Colbert's show was canceled for political reason. And this was trending. If you don't know, Stephen Colbert's show is canceled. And this guy, former MSNBC anchor Keith Olbermann has dismissed suggestions that CBS' decision to axe the Late Show with Stephen Colbert was down to politics, insisting that's not what happened here. Olbermann doused rampant speculation that a host, Stephen Colbert, was being cut over his ongoing criticism of President Trump after the network announced its shock plan to cancel the show in May of next year. Now, CBS publicly blamed financial reasons for its decisions, and it can be more than let's try that again. CBS publicly blamed financial reasons for its decision to can the more than 30-year-long franchise, but politically laced theories quickly started spreading online in the wake of last week's announcement. Yes, there was conspiracy theories everywhere that Trump personally fired Stephen Colbert. And according to the MSNBC anchor, sorry, that is not what happened here. If it had, they wouldn't be keeping him on until next May, according to Olbermann on X. He was responding to one tweet that claimed we are officially at pulling comedians off the air who criticize our dear leader, phase of fascism. The 61-year-old comic, who is one of Trump's most prominent and persistent late-night critics, told viewers he'd learned the decision late Wednesday, and it was a decade on the air. And the company announcement came just after they had settled a $16 million settlement with Paramount in the Trump administration. Colbert had said the technical name in legal circles for the deal reached by Paramount, whose pending sale to Skydance Media needs the Trump approval, was a big fat bribe. That's his words. I don't know if anything will repair my trust in this company, Colbert said at the time, but just taking a stab at it, I'd say $16 million would. So Stephen Colbert was overpaid, underperformed, and his show was losing $14 million or more a season. Some sources claim that he lost $50 million a year. That would be ad revenue. So that's correct. Chris says that show was costing CBS 40 to 50 million a year. The question should be, why was the show kept on for years, losing that much money? Well, you could put a conspiracy theory there if you wanted to, but yeah, he was losing. It had nothing to do with Trump. Trump didn't come fire the guy. So all these conspiracy theorists saying that he did need to actually get off the couch and put your thumbs in action and do some research, because that is not what happened. He got fired because, well, he was overpaid, he underperformed, and you do that in any job, and what happens? Termination. And that's what happened here. Unfortunately, they canceled the whole show, and it appears that Nightly Talk, which used to be run by Letterman and Carson, and then Leno, is going away, because apparently these guys are just trying to make it into a political thing, and people are just sick of it. At night, when you turn on the TV, go to bed, you'll see something funny, interview the stars, whatever. Nobody gives a rat's ass about your politics. All right, this comes to us from TMZ, and it's referenced Dog the Bounty Hunter. His wife, son, accidentally shoots and kills his grandson. So I believe it's his stepson and his step-grandson. Dog the Bounty Hunter is going through a personal tragedy because his stepson shot and killed his step-grandson, and what we're being told is an accidental shooting. Sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ Gregory Zecca, son of Dog's wife Francine, shot and killed his 13-year-old son Anthony in a freak accident at their apartment in Naples, Florida, Saturday night. Law enforcement only confirmed they responded to a call about a shooting at 8 p.m. They haven't made any arrests and call it an isolated incident. Dog and Francine, through a representative, tell TMZ, we are grieving his family over this incomprehensible tragic accident, and when asked for continued prayers as we grieve the loss of our beloved grandson Anthony, and they are asking for privacy. So apparently he was accidentally shot and killed by his own father. Wow. All right, this was trending. I can get behind this. President Trump is threatening to put a big kink in the deal to bring the Washington football team back to Washington. According to the New York Times, Trump urges Washington and Cleveland sports to revert to their former names. The president has threatened to block a deal for the Washington Commanders' new stadium if they do not bow to his demand. Erica Green writes, President Trump urged the Washington Commanders on Sunday to revert to their former name and threatened to derail a deal for the NFL team to build a new stadium in D.C. if it didn't submit to his demand. The Commanders dropped their Redskins name in 2020 amid pressure from corporate sponsors after lobbying by Native American groups who argued that the team's name and logo amplified racist stereotypes. Oh, they need to research this article better, because that's not exactly how that went down. There was one person complaining that was not Native American and got a group of Karens and started this. On Sunday mornings, he played golf at his Washington club. Mr. Trump, president, posted on Truth Social pushing for the teams to reverse course. Washington whatevers should immediately change their name back to the Washington Redskins football team, according to Trump. And it's supposed he also urged the Cleveland Guardians baseball team, which changed its name from Indians in 2021, to follow suit. In one post, Trump claimed without evidence that there was a big clamoring for this and that our great Indian people in massive numbers want this to happen. Hours later, Mr. Trump threatened There should be a space there. To impose a restriction on the Commanders by thwarting the deal announced in April for the team to build a new stadium. I won't make a deal for them to help them build the stadium in Washington, Mr. Trump wrote. The team would be much more valuable and the deal would be much more exciting for everyone. It's unclear if the president has the authority to block the deal. Well, Washington does control the purse strings for Washington, D.C., so I would assume he could. The post came as Mr. Trump attempted to move on from backlash over his administration backpedaling on his promise to release the files on, well, we know, that Epstein guy with whom Mr. Trump socialized with for nearly 15 years. They make sure to get that little part of the sentence in there. And he posted about the Cleveland Guardians. Trump attacked Matt Dolan, a former state legislator who has a partial stake in the team, writing that he lost elections because of that ridiculous name change. Mr. Dolan publicly ran unsuccessfully for Senate in 2022 and 2024. Chris Antonetti, the Cleveland Guardians president, told that the club was more focused on their future. Not something I'm tracking or paying a lot of attention to, but I would say generally understand there are a very different perspective on the decision we made a few years ago. But it's a decision we made, and we've gotten the opportunity to build the brand and the Guardians over the last 4 years. We're excited about the future that's in front of us. Post also marked Mr. Trump's 6-month anniversary in office and sought to draw attention to his accomplishments. He mirrored his push to restore values and other memorials glorifying Confederates who fought to preserve slavery. Why are we saying this? Why does this matter? Which were removed amid so-called racial reckoning after the murder of George Floyd in 2020, arguing that the removal over the past several years has erased parts of the nation's history. Can't argue that. Commanders of the Guardian changed their name amid the heightened sensitivity to the country's history of racism. Well, actually, FedEx pulled out and so did Pepsi, and, well, the Washington Redskins caved and changed their name at that time to the Washington football team. It's a horrible few years. So Trump said that times are different now, and that he wrote, "We are a country of passion and common sense. Owners get it done." In one of his posts on Sunday, Mr. Trump reiterated an earlier claim that the name change has been rebuked by Native American groups. In his initial post, he said that Native Americans believe that their heritage and prestige is systematically being taken away from them. Indians are being treated very unfairly, Mr. Trump wrote later. Make Indians great again. MIGA, make Indians great again. I just can't. So I grew up as a Washington Redskins fan. I will always be a Washington Redskins name, no matter the name on the jersey. So I'm going to keep their colors, burgundy and gold. I personally do not know anyone that didn't like the name Redskins. Lifelong fan, grew up in Washington, D.C. area, so I think this was just political bowing to pressure from people. Chris says, I still wear my old college merchandise, even though, let me find over here, even though the woke idiots changed their mascot, they can deal with it. And then he's got a finger pointing up. Chris, who was your old team? And, you know, when they made this change, I got to thinking, if you know the history of the Redskins, there's a connection to them and the Atlanta Braves. At one point in time, both teams were named the exact opposite. The Braves were the football team, and the Redskins were the baseball team. And they were both in upper New England, and they came to an agreement that they had to swap names and that they had to change times of the season that they played because people were confusing the two. This is back in the early days of the NFL. And they eventually moved from Boston and became the Atlanta Braves. And they eventually moved from New England and became the Washington Redskins. But their history is connected, and there's been no pressure to change the Atlanta Braves name. So I don't understand that. And also with the Guardians, they did theirs in such a mass rush and panic that they changed names thinking that there was a roller derby team that they wouldn't give two rats asses. Well, it turns out that name was trademarked. The Guardians, they went and did all the name changes and pushing merchandise and ended up getting slapped with a huge lawsuit because they stole the roller derby team's name. And that team was also in Cleveland. So, yeah. Let's see. Chris says it is the Valparaiso Crusaders who got changed to the Beacons. Well, yeah, my high school had majors. It was a colonial era soldier, the majors, and now they're just Mount Vernon majors with the logo of like the insignia of a military officer, the gold oak cluster leaf. They took the infantryman from the not Confederate area. I'm drawing Revolutionary Soldier era off of it. So, yes, KG can probably tell us more about it than I can. So, all right. So this comes to us from USAWatchdog.com. Plan on it. Martin Armstrong sees 100% chance of nuclear war. Okay, we're all going to die. 6 weeks ago, legendary financial and geopolitical cycle analyst Martin Armstrong was signaling a big turn towards war. Now Armstrong says the chances of war with a nuclear exchange is at 100%. Plan on this. It is coming. Can the world avoid nuclear war with President Trump's 50-day deadline given to Russia to make peace in Ukraine? Armstrong says, you do not threaten your adversary that is at your same level publicly. If you want to say something like that, you do it privately in a phone call. Now what will happen is Putin cannot possibly sign a peace deal. What, are you crazy to this in 50 days? We have staff in Germany, and I was told by my staff that a friend of 60 years was told to report to duty. And I had a friend that was at the Vienna Peace Conference, and he called me when it was over and said, holy crap, this has nothing to do with peace anymore. This is about preparing for war. Everybody should start getting ready for drafts to start going that way. They want war. They're not backing off. Oh, Armstrong's computer Socrates is signaling war as early as next month. Starting in August, this whole thing is going to be escalating up. Our computer has what we call a panic cycle with our war cycles for 2026. That is not good. I don't know what the hell Trump is smoking. My computer has been projecting war, and it is projecting war into 2026. This is not looking good, and Europe will lose. It's as simple as that. The other big event that happened, what will change the economic system forever, is the House just passed the so-called Genius Act, guiding and establishing national innovation for U.S. stable coins. This bill is now headed to President Trump's desk to sign into law. Mr. Armstrong contends that the U.S. debt is being sold by big holders of Treasury, and we will have to find new market for our huge Treasury debt, or we will default. Treasury bonds will supposedly backstop stable coins, and the banks will control them, he says. This is a repeat of 1863 in the Civil War. They issued national bank notes. Banks were told to buy the bonds. They could buy the bonds to go fund the war, and they were allowed to issue currency backed by the bonds. That is the exact same thing. These stable coins are the same thing as the 1863 National Bank Act. So it all ties to money, power, and war. Stable coins in the Genius Act are not good news for financial freedom or any other kind of civil liberty, Armstrong says. The government will say, we don't like this guy, debank him. The government cannot do it directly, so what do? They do it indirectly in another way. Sign of guys that are gun dealers and bullion dealers, and they have been debanked. This is the world we are going into. They know we are losing power. Europe is far worse. Spain says you cannot take out $3,000 without the government permission. Wow. They're trying to eliminate cash. The forms of government we have today are going to collapse. Republics are the most corrupt form of government, period. And there's more in an interview. If you go to USA Watchdog, you can watch the whole interview. It's about 65 minutes. So he's as early as next month, we're going to go to war. Well, all right, then. We'll see. All right, we're at the top of the hour, a little bit past. We'll finish up real quick because this was in my headline. Trump posts AI video of Obama being arrested in an unhinged social media spree. And amid a bizarre social media posting over the weekend, President Trump posted an AI video showing former President Barack Obama being arrested and in prison. The video, which Trump posted to his Truth Social account, claims that, quote, no one is above the law. And it begins with two men sitting next to each other in what looks like the Oval Office. As the Village People YMCA kicks off, two FBI officers enter the frame and drag Obama out of the room while Trump looks on with a disconcerting grin on his face. Obama is then pictured in a jail cell in various locations of the prison wearing an orange jumpsuit and looking sad. Trump posted the video as part of a weekend-long social media spree, which he repeatedly attacked Obama over allegations that his administration manufactured intelligence to try and subvert the 2016 election. The goal was to usurp President Trump and subvert the will of the American people, said DNI Director Tulsi Gabbard. She's the director of the National Intelligence Agency. She announced the investigation into the Obama administration. We're getting on a very slippery slope here. Very slippery slope. You can watch the video if you hop over to X or Truth Social and see it for yourself. It's funny in one way, stupid in another. No idea what he's doing with this stuff. So this comes to us from Zero Hedge. I thought this article was interesting. The desperation to stop Trump wasn't political, it was survival. It's not enough to say they hated Trump. That's the surface level distraction they fed the public. Tweets, tone, ego, but behind closed doors, the political elite were clutching their pearls over Trump's behavior. They were panicking over what he might expose. This breaks it down. It goes back past Obama. The effort to sabotage President Trump's candidacy before he even took office was not about protecting democracy. It was about protecting the machine. From George H.W. Bush, that's daddy, to Barack Obama, the same interconnected networks of intelligence operatives, political dynasties, and global financial interests financially built and maintained a shadow system of power, and Trump threatened to bring it all into light. They're saying Bush Sr., the architect, you can see that, he didn't just serve as the CIA director, he was the architect in modern intelligence and shadow government. Under his watch, the United States expanded covert operations globally, often under the guise of, quote, national security. These operations weren't just about foreign policy. They included drug trafficking, Iran-Contra, we all remember that, money laundering, and manipulation of foreign elections. Yeah, we did that too. They funded black budget programs and off-the-book deals. The Bush family ties to global banking, oil, and weapons aren't speculation. They are documented, but scrutiny was always dismissed as, quote, conspiracy theory. Why? Because they controlled the narrative. Enter Bill Clinton. He is the cleaner. Bill Clinton's administration refined the art of corruption and cover-up, from the Mina Airport drug running scandal to the Chinagate campaign finance scandal. Corruption was a feature, not a bug, of his presidency. The Clintons cashed in on global influence and built the Clinton Foundation into a pay-to-play Leviathan. Meanwhile, the intelligence community continued to expand its reach, especially into domestic surveillance, setting the stage for what would come next. Bush Jr., well, he was the enabler. Under Bush Jr., 9/11 came the catalyst for exponential growth in surveillance control and unaccountable government authority. The Patriot Act opened the door to mass data collection on Americans. Wars were launched on false pretenses. Trillions disappeared. No one was held accountable. Cheney's shadow presidency empowered defense contractors and intelligence contractors like never before. black sites, torture programs, secret kill lists. The Constitution was just a paper to these people. The machine kept rolling. And then I go to Obama. Obama ran on transparency and hope. What he delivered was the most refined forms of managed decline in U.S. history. Whistleblowers were prosecuted. The IRS was weaponized. The media was also co-opted. The intelligence community was turned inward, not to protect Americans, but to protect itself. Obama didn't just look the other way on corruption, he institutionalized it. The scandal-free administration was anything but. Benghazi, Fast and Furious, unmasking of political enemies, Spygate, the Steele dossier, all of it swept under the rug by the complicit press corps and the weaponized DOJ. And Trump comes in as the wrecking ball. He wasn't in their club. He didn't play by the rules. Worse, he didn't need them, and that made him dangerous. Trump wasn't just another politician. He was a liability to the entire system. He talked openly about child trafficking, shadowy networks, corrupt intelligence officials, and global agendas. He signed executive orders freezing assets of human rights abusers. He bypassed the traditional media. He disrupted the military-industrial complex. The machine couldn't afford to let that continue. So they deployed everything: illegal surveillance, fabricated dossiers, coordinated leaks, a media smear campaign, a weaponized intelligence community, and eventually a multi-year lawfare operation. This wasn't politics. This was survival for them. Desperation on display. That desperation didn't end in 2016. It intensified. The same people who orchestrated the Russia hoax, impeachments, and COVID-era grabs are still grasping control. They fear the second term of Trump, not because of policy, but because of exposure. The question isn't, why did they hate Trump? The question is, what are they trying to hide? And when you ask that question, everything else seems to make sense. That comes to us from Zero Hedge, Tyler Durden. And you can go fact check it and make sense of a lot of that. And well, I'll just leave my personal opinion out of it. Chris says the group created the ability to do anything regardless of how immoral in the name of national security and avoid answering any oversight about it because of the active investigations. You're correct. And now we're discovering that our former president, Mr. Biden, had pretty much lost control of the White House, and that was being controlled by shadows from the Clinton and the Obama families. So they're just continuing to do their stuff. Let's see. We'll just leave this one for another day. This comes to us from Breitbart. Democratic Party endorses Minnesota State Senator Omar Fatih for the mayor position. All right. And I wanted to get into this a little bit because over the weekend, Superman was the top seller in the box office. And, well, they're going to be coming out with another few movies. Sergeant Rock, Supergirl, coming out from the DC Comics universe. I'm looking forward to Sergeant Rock. And then I was also going to try and talk to a Medal of Honor recipient, Clint Romisha. He's getting a new comic book highlighting his actions in Afghanistan. So I wasn't aware that part of our money from the federal government actually prints comic books. If you look back into the history of comic books, they're intermingled with the CIA for meddling in intelligence and information disbursement to children. That's a fact. You can go back and look it up. So I did not know we were still making comic books. So Four Corners, a TV show in Australia, is Louise Milligan is exposing a hospital culture. And Louise Milligan is going to explore how a culture of silence allowed misconduct to flourish in Australian hospitals. For a number of years, prominent neurosurgeon continued practicing in Australia's hospital system despite facing ongoing allegations of inappropriate and sexual behavior, as well as a series of legal actions initiated by the patients. You can watch the latest episodes tonight, I believe, at 8:30 on your local ABC TV in Australia. I only brought that one to light because That culture exists today in the hospitals. That culture has existed for a long time in hospitals. Surgeons think they are gods, and they will do whatever they want to whomever they want, whenever they want. They are the elite in medicine, and they know it. Personal experience, having worked in 2 states in and around surgeons. So yeah, it happens over here. This one I wanted to kind of highlight, but I'm going to leave it because we don't have time. But it comes to us from Science Alert. You can check them out at sciencealert.com. And if you've heard me say that there's disturbing eyesight problems affecting most of the astronauts that are on long missions, and they have been looking for years to figure out how to fix this problem, because when you go into space, your muscles respond differently and your eyes actually relax because you have more pressure in your brain. So long story short, the disease I have is intracranial hypertension, and every astronaut has that same disease, and they're researching it. We talked about this briefly before the weekend, but there was 3 LA County Sheriff's Department officers, deputies that were killed in the line of duty in a horrible training accident. So that was Friday afternoon. All right, so let's get into what we normally do, because I ran over about 15 minutes. I'm sorry, that's not the button I wanted. I don't want that button. I want this button over here. And let's bring up the FEMA daily briefing. All right, here we go. So we talk about this every show. This is one of the staples of our show. It's how we actually started. We talk about FEMA and what's going on with them and what their plan is. This is the same briefing that they give to the president. It's dated Monday, 21 July, today at 8:30 a.m. And we see that current things they're operating or monitoring, there's no supervising, no significant incidents right now, but they are continuing to monitor. They're going to be having a housing problem in Texas, just as they did in Carolinas. They're monitoring heavy rain, flash flooding in the Ohio and Tennessee valleys, the southern Appalachians, severe thunderstorms here, if you've heard them in the background, fire weather in the central Great Basin to the northern Rockies, and, there's one disturbance down in in all 3, the Atlantic, the East, and West Pacific. No new declarations since we last reported. The tropical outlook, there is a little teeny tiny depression in every one: the Western Pacific, the Central and Eastern Pacific, and the Atlantic. The national forecast today calls for heavy rain, flash flooding, Tennessee, Ohio Valley, Kentucky, rain extending up into the East Coast as far up as Pennsylvania, and then it's going to stretch all the way back over technically to the other coast, with some severe storms in Montana and Wyoming, and that also could create, some more fires. Nevada, you are under a critical fire weather watch, so be on your toes there. The anticipation for heavy rain is, Florida. Florida will be inundated today, in the next 24 hours, but that's going to extend pretty much all up into the south, all the way up into the mid-Atlantic there in the Chesapeake Bay. And like we talked about earlier, some heavy storms back over the Montana mountain range. So be prepared up there. Then we have to talk about this, because it's not just coming, it's here. We have a heat risk. Today, along the coast, the Atlantic coast, there is a heat advisory. All of Florida, most of the Gulf of America's border patrol, most of the Gulf of America where it touches the U.S. is under a heat advisory, and that extends all the way up. Like we talked about last weekend, that's going to push way up the Mississippi and going to cause problems all the way up into Illinois, and I think before we're done, probably as far as Wisconsin. All right, space weather, no real things to watch, although there was a space storm last weekend, so we're going to watch and see what happens with it, because it takes a couple days for it to reach us. And that's talking about what FEMA is currently doing. We've discussed it before. They're pretty much every state is active. and are trying to repopulate in several. All right, let's jump to our next thing here, which is the president's daily schedule. All right, President Trump today had an in-pool camera time of 9 a.m. 12:30, he had lunch with the VP. That's it. That's all that's on the books for today. Yesterday, the official White House calendar released. Per protocol, the Trump National Golf was the only planned event. Okay, so he went and played golf on Sunday. Over the weekend, he had no public events. He stayed at the White House otherwise, and besides for playing golf. So interesting. So he played golf in Washington, D.C. over the weekend. That was it. That's all he did. I mean, I'm sure he did president things, but he didn't do anything like fly off to a foreign country. He didn't go into hiding either. Always a good thing. All right. Sorry, I had to take a drink. I've been talking a lot, you know. I only show this because some people had asked. There's a little confliction. Some people state we're at DEFCON level 3. Others say we're at 5. And when you talk about DEFCON, that's our nuclear warning. But this company monitors it pretty well. And the Global Nuclear Watch, their weekly DEFCON intelligence briefing for today, it talked about how there's increased economic pressures on Russia because President Trump is trying so hard to get the peace settlement within the next 50 days. So they're really pressuring Russia. And then Russia, though, is firing back that they really don't want long-range weapons transferred to Ukraine so that they can be used against them. And then Iran is threatening to pull out the agreement from the agreement they had and go back to making nuclear bad things. So, and the assessment was released from the Iran nuclear big boom drop we did. And apparently we weren't as successful as we thought. So I would not be surprised if we see a repeat of that. So this is a private intelligence organization, and they monitor and assess the threat continually. And they have since 1984. It's not affiliated with the government and does not represent a government opinion. That's because the other company doing the same thing says they're at DEFCON 3, which is a heightened alert. I think we're somewhere in between the two of these. I would think more like a 4, but that could change at a moment's notice. So, all right, let's get out of this one, move on to the next thing. We won't talk about this one, but briefly, it's pretty much what we talked about. It's the forecast map for the U.S., and we see that the heavy rains and thunderstorms are going to be up in Dakotas and Montana, and then down in the South, Kentucky, Middle Tennessee, you're going to get hammered with some heavy rain, and the lows are in the highs on the Gulf of Mexico, or the Gulf of America. High there is pushing rain up and in, and the lows off of the mid-Atlantic are pulling the water out. So that's creating the storms pretty much going across the country, some heavy, some less than heavy, but a large portion of the country will see rain today. All right, or at least on this side of the Rockies. Let's see. And we talked about the fire dangers in Nevada already. All right, let's close this one. This is the map showing the possibilities for tornadic activity. Relatively low in the United States today, but there is a chance up along the Dakotas in Montana for some high winds, and even out of those storms that could produce some hail. It's not a high chance, but it's about a 10% chance. So stay on your toes if you're listening up in the Dakotas or up in Montana, because it's going to be exceptionally windy today. All right, let's jump down here. This is worldwide radar. And we're going to play with this for a minute. If we look at Australia, currently Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, some light showers. It's going to be chilly and light showers today for most of the UK. We can see by making the other map here that the winds are pretty much driving the rain coming up from the South Gulf down in, what is that? I can't read. Idalia. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, so forgive me. I'm sorry. I'm still learning. And the high off of the other side is pushing the rain up and in. So where they meet there, pretty much on the southern coast, especially on the southeast side, you're going to get some spotty rain showers moving in today. Let's see. We can change this and show the precipitation currently is coming to the west of Adelaide, but it's coming up. We'll be going all the way across to Alice Springs today with the potential of some heavy but mostly light rain. Temperatures aren't going to be too bad today unless you're on the northern side of the country. You're going to see some temperatures elevated. We'll look at temperatures here in a minute. Let's see. We showed the winds. And then let's see. All right. So let's go back to radar. And we'll zoom out a bit. And we'll hop over here to the lower 48. And we'll be able to see I'm getting storms here in Atlanta. Make sure that was an important message. All right. Yeah, I'm getting storms here in Atlanta. So there's some thunder boomers in the southeast. Really, both sides of the Appalachian in the southeast from Kentucky down to Savannah. So spotty showers, some strong ones. If you're in the south, be prepared because it's, well, summertime and, well, yeah, it's when we get our storms. I'm surprised I have not lost power today. Really surprised. Current temperatures around the world. We'll start on the west coast. Seattle 67. Hopping over Rapid City 78. Sioux Falls 84. Omaha 90. Kansas City 88. Chicago, you're coming in at 78. Washington, D.C. 86. Well, the winner for today appears to be Las Vegas. It's currently 97. However, in the Gulf Coast, Houston and New Orleans are coming in at 91, and Tampa at 94. And I think I said Atlanta is 90 with 95, and Memphis, yes. That following up the Mississippi River, you're going to see a wedge with some hot air extending way up north. Could make it almost to the Great Lakes, but we're not sure about that. We do have the one tropical storm down in the Atlantic to keep an eye on. Currently, it's not affecting anyone, so it's still out to sea. So we'll keep an eye on that. There is a cyclone over Japan. It's in Asia. No. Yeah, the cyclone affecting, well, it's currently affecting Hanoi and Laos, but it's a cyclone that has created torrential rains and has caused a problem in Asia. Going further down to Australia, you can see it's kind of cool morning down there. Right now in Sydney, it is 26 Celsius or 46 degrees. And Darwin, 72. Broome, 69. We're in Fahrenheit, so Cameroon, 51. Pretty much that whole southwest side of the country is going to be a chilly day for them. The higher the elevation, the greater your chances of cool air are. All right, we'll look at the lower 48 map. I'm going to show you on several different ones because we talked about this when I was in Knoxville on my laptop, and it really wasn't covering it because of the speed of the laptop and able to show you the differences in the two. So this map comes to us from the Emergency Management Agency, GEMA, and I like it because you can zoom in. It sorts it out by county, and you can read what the watches and alerts are, but it's also color coded. So there is that. I don't know why I just did that, but made it look funny. All right, there we go. So we can see the extreme heat coming up from the Gulf of America all the way up to Chicago. Following that little wedge is going to be like a little train. The rest of the country, well, not the country, but the South is under a heat advisory. But if you're along the Mississippi all the way up to the Great Lakes, it's not just a warning. They're telling you it's there. Flooding over in Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, and up into Kentucky for today. And yep, we'll zoom in a bit, and you can see as far over as the coast, there is some specific rain. When I say the coast, I'm talking about the Outer Banks. There's some rain on the Outer Banks, and that thunderstorm is extending inward into Tennessee. All right, the other one I want to show you is this map, and it's very similar to the GEMA map, but this one is put together by the Amateur Radio Emergency Services in the South. So you'll notice, if you look on the map of the lower 48, the South is outlined. They show you the radar. They still have all the watches and warnings, and so it's a pretty good site to use too. So you can search it out for the Southeastern U.S. Situational Awareness Map for the amateur radio community. All right, sorry, I had to take a drink. I'm dry mouth today. All right, so we're going to look at the lightning map, lower 48, and we'll just zoom in right now. Looks like Jacksonville all the way across, almost to Tallahassee, getting hammered with a severe thunderstorm. Lots of lightning up in, extending up into Brunswick, St. Mary's area in Georgia. Strong little cell there. Up where I am in Atlanta, there's some strong cells. It looks like Sandy Springs is about to get hammered. My old work area, DeKalb County, they are getting hammered. So, yeah, some severe lightning in the area. I'm surprised I haven't lost power, to be honest with you, because here in Georgia, we lose it so frequently. Outer Banks, there's some lightning activity there, but the range hasn't pushed far enough inland to affect Chicago or Wisconsin or even Michigan at this point. But we do have some to the northwest of Kansas that are popping off pretty good. And then if we scan down, Texas, right at the Arizona, Albuquerque, Texas border. Well, they don't actually border, but I'm talking about Arizona, Albuquerque, and Texas border Mexico. There's a cell down there that's popping off right now. All right, let's go. Let's see what we're doing on our power map, because usually if you got pretty decent sized storms, you have some power outages. And currently, it's looking as though only California is reporting greater than 10,000 outages, reporting 15,453, 835 outages in California. And you can zoom in on it, and you can see there's not one particular county that's worse than the other, so it's pretty much a statewide event. And that's pretty much it for the power outages. Everywhere else is looking pretty good at the moment. Jump into the weather warnings real quick. Chris, we'll look and see if we have one for our good friend Andy. Whoa, lo and behold, right there, right in the middle. 3 minutes left on a test message. All right, so there's a new flash flood warning watch in Texas, special weather statement in Florida, Minnesota severe thunderstorm warning. And we talked about Kentucky having flood advisories, Kansas flood watch, and then Minnesota's got severe thunderstorm warning up in the northeast of the state. Severe thunderstorm is happening right now. And then we have special weather statements pretty much all in the South. New York, Kentucky. New York is not the South. Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, they've all issued special weather statements. Georgia's issued a marine watch over in Savannah. Let's see. That's pretty much it for ongoing things. Just keep your eye out today. If you see a puddle, don't drive through it. Bad things can happen. There was actually a firefighter that drove to a wreck scene. He got out of the engine, and when he drove on the wreck scene, he drove underneath of a power pole that was down, not realizing that the power lines were hanging. The power lines made contact with the fire truck. As he was exiting the vehicle, he had one hand on the handle. As soon as his foot made contact with the ground, pretty much grounded himself, and well, he was electrocuted on scene. So you can you got to be careful with this stuff, because these rains will get you through flooding, but lightning, whew, it'll take you out in another way. All right, we were mentioning this earlier, but we'll go ahead and look at the map for it. This is the National Weather Service heat forecast, and we see pretty much as we discussed, Gulf Coast, Mid-Atlantic, from basically Chesapeake Bay all the way down through Florida, over to the Gulf of America. Yeah, you're looking at a code red day. It's going to be hot. Atlanta, code red day. It's going to spread from the Mississippi west. It's going to continue to spread west and go northward as the week progresses. But so far, pretty much Wyoming, Nebraska, Iowa, Colorado, Illinois, you're in a code orange day, but it's not code red. So don't break out your masks just yet, unless you want to. Then you can break them out. You can wear them as party favors, or say you work at a hospital. All right, this comes to us from the National Weather Service and NASA. If you look at this, this is the lower 48. It shows where all the fires are. All of them at this time are over on the side of the Rockies, with the except of the west side of the Rockies, with the exception of one down in Florida, of course, where there's some rain activity and lightning activity. And the fires in Canada are extending all the way across the Canadian continent into Alaska. So those are pretty dangerous. Keep your eyes open for a forest fire. I saw over the weekend, I saw a video of a fire NATO, which is basically a fire that's generating its own weather, and the group had to take cover. They had to use their emergency shelters because this fire NATO with like 250-mile-an-hour winds was coming right at them, and they had nowhere to go. So they all survived, but I can imagine that was quite harrowing. It's bad enough to have a tornado, but a fire NATO? Good Lord. All right, so we'll leave that alone. Look this up real quick. This is the smoke map, and we see all the fires up in Canada. Well, the area that we're concerned about is obviously the lower 48, but you see that smoke is being pushed down as far down south as Kentucky and then bending back up, following the line of the jet stream and out over Boston. So keep your eyes open if you're out there. This is pretty much the same map. I just showed it from a different point of view. It's a little bit cleaner. So, except for the fact that if I go down south and look at Australia, it'll be off. All right, so let's look at the air quality now. Pretty much the worst air quality is Chicago and a little bit west there up into Minneapolis. You're looking at a code brown day. The south's getting a break, except for the upper side of the Appalachia. On the west side, a slight air quality problem, but most of the south is pretty clear today. Let's take a look worldwide and see what's happening. All right, so this map shows us where all the smoke, dust, pollution comes from and goes to. It did until I moved that mouse. There we go. As you can see with the Canadian fires, it's pushing the smoke down into the lower 48, but the jet stream is catching it and moving it back up the Atlantic and out. We're going to be worried next week with dust storms coming out of Africa, which, even though they're bad, they're over the Atlantic and they can disrupt the activity. And hopefully any storms that are there, or potential storms that are there, they can disperse them pretty easily with the sand. So we get an idea of the way the winds are running as well, but we have a better one for that, and that's this guy. This is the big, beautiful, round, blue globe. Perfect. Chris, we need to trademark this. So it's the big, beautiful globe. You can see that the winds are pretty strong up in the central Atlantic, stretching out over to Canada. So it's really brushing over top the United States totally. Go down here to Africa. We see pretty much the same. You've got some depressions off of your coastlines, and they're going to be pretty much keeping all storms contained, but there will be some light rain up the center of the country. Okay, nothing important. And let's see, can we see? I was wondering if we could see. Was that? No, I don't know what the hell I was talking about. I was hoping to be able to see the cyclones on this map, but looks like they just don't have enough data to put the cyclones on the map. Interesting. All right, so we're going to move on. If you want to see that, you can search it out. Big, beautiful, blue, perfect globe. And it comes to us from our friends at, come on, from our friends at earth.nullschool.net. You can find that and check it out there. All right, so this will cover pretty much, this is just an event list of things that have went on in the past weekend. We'll just kind of cover them because I don't want to go back much further than that. But sometimes it takes them a couple days to report these things. So just because you see something doesn't mean that it's not going to change. So we'll start off with talking about biological incidents in the United States. Young surfers recovering after a shark bite to his boot while surfing on the Florida beach. Yeah, it can be pretty bad. So we'll go down to epidemics. They're talking of animals, and it doesn't appear, well, no, that's not true. Another outbreak has been found in, where is it? Europe of chickens. So it may cause a problem in the chicken market. All right. If you need chickens or eggs, start looking now. New epidemics, death toll in Iran because the Congo hemorrhagic fever is now at 10. And let's see. Mystery illness. Okay. That's pretty much just it's kind of basically a serious illness, but more than one people have come up with it. So I have to classify it that way. Go down to infection hazards. See if they cover the thing out of Florida. Yep. Nope, they didn't. There's two things in Florida. One of them, the main one was there was a plane that was boarded by a person that he started messing with the person in the seat in front of him. An altercation took place after he basically headbutted the guy that was the author, just trying to read his book and not bother anybody. And then from that point on, it became fisticuffs flying. So you can check that out on social media. Let's see. Iran heat wave causing a water shortage. And that was another thing. I heard that there was a water shortage in Seattle. If anybody can find it, I couldn't find it real quickly. Let me know. I'd be interested. I don't know that there was a storm up in there. Okay. Make sure that I'm still online here. I'm getting messages from Ross. So, okay. Oh, he's wanting me to read a story. All right. Public water supply distribution in Iran. Let's see. He says this is breaking news. So let's just copy and paste it. Copy link. We'll cover this, see what his thing is. Breaking news here. I'm not aware of an incident, but let's pull it up and see what's going on. Paste and go. Oh, okay. An actor has passed away. Theo from The Cosby Show is dead at 54. Yep. Malcolm Jamal Warner, an actor and artist who rose to the fame as child as Theodore Huxtable on The Cosby Show, has died, according to sources close to the actor. He was 54. Warner died in a drowning accident in Costa Rica, where he was on vacation with his family, according to the source. Warner was swimming at Playa Grande de Cuchis in Limandan Province on the Caribbean coast of Costa Rica around 2:30 local time Sunday, when the current pulled him deeper into the ocean, according to the AP. Costa Rica's judicial investigation told CNN on Monday people were on the beach trying to help him, but he was declared dead by the Rescue Cross. CNN has reached out to a representative for the Warner family for further information. Native New Jersey, Warner started acting at the age of 9, making appearances on shows like Fame. He was a young teen when he was cast as the only son of the Bill Cosby character Heathcliff Huxtable on The Cosby Show, which ran from 1984 to 1992. He later reflected on the legacy of popular Emmy-winning sitcom, the fact that The Cosby Show for Black America and white America alike finally legitimized the black middle class, which has always been around since the inception of the country. But as with everything, it is not legitimate until it's on television. Boy, isn't that the truth? Warner said when the show first came out, there were white people and black people talking about how the Huxtables don't really exist. Black people don't really like that, live like that. Meanwhile, we're getting tens of thousands of fan letters from people saying, thank you so much for the show. He was nominated for the Primetime Emmy in 1986 for his supporting work on The Cosby Show. I always liked him. I hate to hear that he drowned. They go into the Cosby misconduct, but we're not going to talk about that because that's in the past. Let it be. Well, so he was pretty much retired, and he's in Costa Rica and drowned at sea. Theo Huxtable, 54 years old. All right, let's go back real quick to where we were. Thank you to Jurgs for giving us the breaking news. We appreciate it. We got it out there for you. All right, so we'll go back to the event list real quick and see where we were. I think we were all the way down to security conflicts. Syria, every day down there. Public safety incident, 4 shot in Austin, all in good condition. 9 shot at a pool party in Ecuador over the weekend. France, mass riders attacked highway and clashed with police in France. Well, we talked about that today. You got to be on your toes when you're out in public. 20 injured as a car plows into a group outside of a Hollywood club. We talked about that. South Africa, the deadly tavern shooting in, I'm not even going to pronounce that, Pretoria, leaves 5 dead. And let's see. Trinidad and Tobago declared a state of emergency after a plot to kill government officials was uncovered. Wow, that's interesting. And 4 police dead in San Antonio crash involving a bus and a stolen vehicle. Okay, we didn't cover that one. In Romania, protests in Bucharest. Round two back in A1 blocked. Okay, that occurred over the weekend. The UK has UK in anti-immigrant protests in the UK turns into a wider, more violent protest after asylum seeker is charged with sexual assault. Okay, he's a suspect. It's a keyword there. See, serial demonstrations, Romania, protests in Bucharest, round 2. Okay. And what else we have? UK anti-immigrant protests. We talked about that. And war, well, just look around at the map. We're directly not involved, but by gosh, we're selling our weapons to be involved. So all right, guys, we're almost done. Let's talk about United States tanker truck with fuel spilled on Indian Creek Highway at the 101 milepost, 298.2 in Washington. That caused a ecological disaster. Iran reports 18 wounded in a gas blast over the weekend. Let's see here. 17 vehicles destroyed in a carport fire in La Habara. And outdoor fires, pretty high right now this time of year. But hopefully the rains coming through across the country will cool us off and give us a little soaking. 10 injured at a landslide in the volcano Devil's Oak Track in India. That was over the weekend. South Korea, 1 dead, 3 missing after a landslide. That was over the weekend. Volcanic eruption in Kilauea. That was over the weekend. They had Spur with a eruption and Great Sitkins. So, in Iceland had a volcano eruptions. Interesting. Iceland is not ice; it's green. Flooding in the U.S. A tsunami. Well, the tsunami was reported, but it never came to light, making land 70 miles southeast of Sandpoint, Alaska. And let's see. Industrial accidents. Delhi is India is linked collapse to a construction house in the Swarup Nagar with rescue operations underway. So interesting there. And we talked about traffic incidents with aviation and cars. I didn't mention one that I wanted to find and highlight. It was the guys fighting, the video for it. The video is just crazy. But I didn't get a chance to pull it up, so maybe I'll try and do it tomorrow. All right, this is a disaster alert map. Pretty much we're covering the same thing that we did yesterday. Just this gives us a little bit closer time-wise to current time, and it gives us a little bit more information if we want to search it out. So we talked about the thunderstorms that are currently occurring in the south. Let me zoom in here. Yep, there we go. And I don't know what that is. Oh, we were talking about heat storms. Well, not a heat storm, but heat being a hazardous exposure. So, yeah, there's the heat right now in the south extending up the Mississippi. Pretty warm today. Let's go back to settings and see what we got here. Let's see. Well, we'll drop down into Texas at the Gulf of America, and we'll see that flood warning. Hop over to the Keys. Pretty much straight. Same thing, flood warning. Go down here to New Zealand, and more flood warnings. So there's a lot of flood warnings in effect for today for the south and the northeast. So keep your eyes and ears open for that. We'll zoom out some and see if there's anything interesting. If I can find a mouse to close this. All right, there we go. Let's hop down to Australia and see if there's any news down there. Why is it not giving me control? All right, so we see there's little storms on the African coast, but the main thing that we're concerned with is there's going to be a windy day up there or down there in Australia, and it's going to be a kind of a rainy day. Even if you're not 100% going to get the rain from pretty much South Australia north, you can bank on a little rain, even if it's just a little soaking shower. All right, we'll go over to the next map here, if I can bring it up. There we go. These little dots represent alerts that have occurred. They could be anything from a clerical to an actual biological event. So let's see what we got here. We'll pull in the United States since, well, it's most updated, I would think. Maybe I'll be able to pull it in. Well, that's right. You got to use this control. Oh, Lord. Have mercy. All right. So we'll start down in Florida. There's 3 alerts down there. And the first one comes to us almost out of the Keys. If I can bring it up. There we go. Measles case was confirmed. All right. So that was down in Florida. Come on. There we go. So apparently they had a boil water advisory for a while. All right. And these are are things they don't like to talk about, but you can find them on the web because, well, why else wouldn't you find anything on the web? You can see that they've had several cases of flesh-eating virus down in Florida. We also noticed that, if you remember, out to our west, and I thought it was kind of shady because there was also one kind of up in the Mississippi. Now, it could just be migration of the fish, but so far, so just food for thought. All right, let's see what else we got because we are about out of time here. Latest earthquakes. 3.1 in Guatemala, 4.4 off the coast of Kamchatka, 4.5 off the east coast of Kamchatka. I don't know what the heck where that is. Let's see. Looks like most of them have all been overseas, and there's none that are, well, I won't say none, but there's some that don't hardly rise to the case of needing help. So, in other words, there's no damages. All right, we're going to get out of here because I've run out of time for today. I'm pretty sure I'm about to run over. I want to thank everybody at Yerg's Radio for allowing me to come on and tickle your ears. And, well, we got about 5 minutes, but time to sign off. I want to thank everybody at Yerg's Radio for allowing us to tickle your ears and have a little fun today. It is a Monday. Who doesn't hate Mondays? So I will be back tomorrow for the Sportcat Daily Gazette. Same time, same place. Everything will be the same except for more, well, idiotic news things. So let's see. That's about it. Everybody at Yerg's Radio, Radio X in Australia, thank you for allowing us to come on, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Everybody have a great day. I will go out of here showing you what is going on in the world on Bitdefender. So everybody have a great day. I will see you soon.